So, a few months ago, my life was a complete mess. I was at my absolute lowest, just drowning in chaos. I had no idea what to do, so I did the only thing that I could think of. I stopped. I stopped painting, I stopped practicing, I stopped taking care of myself in general. And eventually, I decided to channel all that pain and confusion onto a canvas. Well, a digital canvas. This is a raw story of how I turned my biggest struggle into this. There is a kind of low that just feels like the floor has dropped out from under you. It's a total shift in how you see the world and even more terrifying on how you see yourself. For me, it felt like living inside a static television screen. There was just this constant humming chaos but no clear picture, no signal. My days just blur into one another, each one a grey copy of the last. Getting out of bed felt like a huge act of defiance, and honestly, most days I lost the battle. The world outside seemed to be moving in vibrant color while I was stuck in a black and white silent film of my own making. A pile of dishes in the sink wasn't just a chore, it was a proof that I couldn't function. An unanswered mail was a symbol of my failure to connect with a life that was marching on without me. This wasn't just sadness, it was a profound sense of being disconnected from everything I thought I knew about myself. It was depressing, honestly. I have always been an artist. It's the one label that always fits. But in the middle of this mess, even that just felt like a lie. My drawing supplies once my sanctuary become something I couldn't even stand involved in. The blank canvases felt like they were just mocking me and a glaring reminder of my own emptiness. The thought of drawing has always felt like home, but suddenly making me sick with guilt. How can you call yourself an artist when the very thought of creating just felt impossible? This is a place a lot of creative people know. We have this romantic idea of the tortured artist, the myth that pain is somehow the fuel of great work. You see it throughout art history. Artists creating work that is inseparable from their lifelong pain. But what happens when the breaking isn't poetic? What happens when it's just a dull, grinding paralysis, when the pain doesn't inspire you to pick up a brush, but convince you that you just never should have been to begin with? My mess was that kind of pain. It was a slow erosion, 1,000 tiny failures, a gradual dimming of the light until I was in total darkness. It was a heavy cloak of burnout, the feeling of giving everything and having nothing left. My mind was a maze of dead ends. Every thought was a criticism. Every idea was shut down by a louder voice in my head saying, "What's the point? You are not good enough." That internal monologue is creative despair, and I felt so much shame of not being stronger, not being able to just snap out of it, or just be happy in general. This was my rock bottom, a silent, grey, chaotic place where hope was a foreign word, and it was from this exact place that the first tiny tremor of an idea began to surface. In the deepest part of this struggle, there is rarely a single cinematic aha moment like people may think. For me, the turning point was small, quiet, born of sheer exhaustion. I was just so tired of fighting myself, tired of the relentless inner critic and the suffocating weight of it all. I hit a point where doing nothing was more painful than doing something, even if that something was guaranteed to be failure. I was sitting on my floor, surrounding my physical proof of my internal chaos, and the thought cuts through the noise. If you can't fix the mess, paint it. Do something, anything. It wasn't a hopeful mantra, it was a practical, almost cold instruction. The chaos wasn't something to be hidden, it was the subject matter. The pain wasn't an obstacle to the art, it was the art. The shift in perspective is the heart of so many artistic breakthroughs. It's deciding to stop running from the monster and instead turn around and look it in the eye. Personal turmoil not as something to get over before making art, but as the art itself. What if I stopped trying to create something beautiful or good? What if I just gave myself permission to create something honest? What if I took all the anxiety, the confusion, the anger, the sheer unfiltered mess of my life and give it a physical form? The thought was terrifying, but it was also freeing. By reframing the goal from making a masterpiece to just documenting the moment, and pressure lifted. The goal wasn't perfection, the goal was simply to translate. This is the core of catharsis in art, purging big emotions by giving them an external form. I wouldn't be painting a picture about my struggle, I would be letting the struggle itself hold the brush. That was the turning point. The mess was still there. It was all around me, inside me, but now it has a purpose. It was no longer just a source of pain. It was a source of material. I couldn't control my feelings, but I could turn on my laptop, I could pick up a pen, I could make a mark. It was a small act of defiance against the void, and it was everything. There was nothing more intimidating than a blank canvas. When you're on a shaky ground, it's not a field of possibility, it's a void. A mirror reflecting your own emptiness, daring you to ruin it. I carry a laptop onto my desk, the first I've touched in what felt like a lifetime. I propped it open and the silence was deafening. I just sat there and staring at it. And my old friend, the inner critic, started screaming. You have no idea what you're doing. This is gonna be a disaster. You have forgotten how to paint and all. Every thought was projected onto the white surface. My hands were shaking. I used a hint of black paint. It felt honest. I chose it to be the main color of the background. I didn't reach for a small brush. It felt too controlled, too delicate. I reached for a large oil brush, a tool for smearing, for attacking the surface. My heart was pounding. I took a shallow breath. That was the point of no return. I picked a less saturated of black, closed my eye, and lunged at the canvas. It wasn't a gentle stroke, it was a smear, a violent diagonal gash of black paint across the pure white. It was aggressive, it was ugly, and it was the most liberating thing I've done in months, actually. The first mark broke the spell. The canvas wasn't perfect anymore, it was scarred, and with that one impulsive act, the fear began to fade, replaced by a raw, chaotic energy. I didn't have a plan, that was the plan. I was surrendering to the process. I grabbed another color, muddy browns, angry crimson, stickly yellows. I wasn't thinking about composition or color theory. I was thinking about feelings. What color is despair? What is the texture of anxiety? And what does color give off a depression kind of feeling? I worked fast, just on instinct, smearing paint with a brush. At one point I used a less controllable brush, one that I wouldn't normally use, and just blasted a patch of paint, watching the color blends together in an unpredictable way. I was collaborating with brushes and textures, letting the materials have a say. The first day wasn't about building a painting, it was about creating a surface that held all the raw emotion I had been carrying. It was a mess, a chaotic, ugly, beautiful mess. For the first time, the mess wasn't just a feeling trapped inside me, it was something outside of me that I could see. I had externalized the trauma, making it something I could observe instead of being consumed by it. The void was no longer empty, it was dark, and it was chaotic, but it was alive. And for now, that was more than enough. The creative process is never a straight line. The messy middle is where the real work happens. The back and forth between clarity and confusion, confidence and doubt, is a dialogue between you and the painting itself. First, I'll just lay down some brushstrokes. The initial layers was pure, unfiltered feeling. I used jagged strokes with the oil brush for the sharp edges of anxiety. I let layers of dark, textured ink flow across the canvas like tears to show how sadness seeps into everything. I kept coming back to the feeling of being trapped underwater, with immense pressure, seeing light on the surface but impossibly far away, so I mixed deep, suffocating blues and greens, layering them thickly. I used another texture brush to wipe away thin, vertical lines, fainted rays of light struggling to break through. After a while, I stepped back. The canvas was a dense, turbulent field of color, and slowly, like seeing shapes in clouds, forms started to emerge. A twisted yet structured shape in the patch of dark paint looked like an abandoned cathedral. A chaotic burst of red and orange felt like a fragile flower blooming in the storm. I hadn't planned them, but they were there, waiting. I leaned into it. I used a smaller brush to define the edges of the cathedral wall, giving it shapes to harness the chaos within. I highlighted the petals of the flower, making it the focal point of the divine's color. The dialogue was changing. I was no longer just flowing feelings onto the canvas. I was responding to what the canvas was giving back to me. It was becoming a symbolic illustration of my struggle, the abandoned cathedral of my despair, and the fragile flame of hope that made me start. But just as I felt I was getting somewhere, I hit a wall, hard. I looked at the painting, and all I saw was a pretentious, muddy mess. The inner critic was back, louder than ever. This is meaningless. This is embarrassing. All my momentum was gone. For 2 days, I couldn't touch it. I almost gave up. But then I remembered, the whole point of this, the goal wasn't to create a perfect painting. The goal was to be honest. And the honest truth was that right now, I was filled with doubt. So what if I paint that? Instead of trying to fix the painting, I took a neutral gray and began to paint over sections, like a fog rolling in. It was a destructive act, covering parts I love, but it was honest. The journey wasn't a straight line from pain to beauty. It included getting lost. Now the painting reflects that. Paradoxically, painting that fog, or in this case the pillar, was what cleared my head. By giving my doubt a physical form, I took away its power. It was no longer just a feeling. It was a layer of gray paints I could work with. The painting needed light, not metaphorical light, but actual visual light. I used an overlay layer paired with a dark orange. With my smallest pressure, I began to add small deliberate marks. I threaded light through the ceiling window. I touched the very center of the divine's flame, making it glow. Most importantly, I went back to those faint vertical lines, the rays of light struggling to break through. I went over them again with brilliant glow, making them stronger, more intentional. They were no longer just struggling, they were piercing the darkness. That was the moment it all clicked. The darkness, the chaos, the pillar of doubt, they were all still there. But now they were in a relationship with the light. The darkness didn't disappear. It gave the light meaning. The final stage of a painting is a delicate dance. This is where you turn the raw material of the mess into a cohesive statement. You stop shouting and start speaking. With the theme of light and dark now clear, my job was to enhance it. I spent hours on the details. I went back to the dark, barren wall and the bright, glazing fire, and with a fine tip brush, painted tiny, intricate golden flame flickering off its blaze and light reflected on the wall. Each one was a conscious decision, a small act of defiance. This kind of detail work is meditative. It quiets the mind and calms the nervous system. Next, I turned to the chaotic background. I didn't cover it up. That was the story's foundation. Instead, I used a thin glaze of color to create depth, pushing some areas back and bringing others forward. It was like adjusting the focus, deciding which parts of the story needed to be sharp. The mess was still there, but now it was the environment where the character was standing. One of the most powerful things I did was subtraction. I took a texture brush using the faintest amount of pressure and gently wiped away small areas of paint. In the darkest section, I also added a hint of blood spatter into the void. In the context of all the darkness, these small white voids and bloodstains looked almost poetic. It taught me that making space and letting go, even though it hurts, is just as important as adding more. The process of refining felt so parallel to healing. You revisit difficult experiences, re-examine them, and slowly integrate them. My relationship with the painting has changed. I was no longer at war with the mess. I was at peace with it. Stepping back, I knew it was finished. Not because it was perfect, but because it had said everything it needed to say. The canvas held the entire story, the pain, the chaos, the doubt, and finally the quiet, resilient hope. It started as my mess, but it had become my masterpiece. And so, this is it. This is what came out of the chaos. At first glance, it's dark. The background is a deep, turbulent sea of blues and blacks, thick with texture. This is the weight, the feeling of being submerged. You can see the scars from the texture brush, the drips where the colors bled. This is the foundation of the mess. But your eyes are drawn forward, with a single blazing flame starting to emerge from the chaos. It is clear and twisted. It's reaching out like desperate fingers. It is the shape of hope. Surrounding it is the fainted blood spatters that has witnessed all the struggle and defiance. In the middle stands a warrior, even with unimaginable weight on her shoulders, still clinging on to her duty as a knight. She may be tired, wounded, and yet she is not dead. Together with a sword, show her determination to survive. They are the sign of life, a stubborn refusal to surrender. To the bottom left lay a single pillar crumbled by the force of a chaotic burst of crimson and orange. Its edges is shattered, as if it couldn't contain what lies within any longer. It's the color of a fresh breeze of foliage, also a vibrant shape of resilience. Together they show that even during our darkest times, there's still a silver of light that's hidden beneath it. And then there's the light. It's not one big overpowering sun. It's a scattered, persistent light, in the golden threads piercing the depths, radiating through the ceiling window, in a faint rays of white across the darkest layers, shining down the warrior to further amplify her dignity. The overall feeling is one triumphant victory over the darkness, but a hard-won harmony with it. The darkness is still vast, but it's no longer the only character. It's been transformed into the background that allows the light to be seen. This painting isn't the story of escaping the mess. It is a story of finding something beautiful, not in spite of the mess, but because of it. Standing here now with this painting beside me, the feeling is quite sense of peace. The storm inside me has calmed, and this canvas is the proof that I survived. Now, what did I learn? The biggest lesson was about pain. We see pain as an enemy, but it can also be a creative force, a source of incredible honesty. Art provides a safe container for it. It doesn't make the pain just go away, but it transforms your relationship with it. I also learned that I had the idea of a masterpiece wrong. I used to think it meant perfection. Now I believe a masterpiece is something that is ruthlessly, unapologetically honest. It's a work that tells a true story, and the truth is, life is messy. Reflecting the truth is far greater achievement than creating something just pretty. This painting taught me the power of surrender. I was trying to force my way out of darkness and failed every single time. Things changed when I surrendered to the mess, when I said, okay, I am in chaos. I will let it speak. By giving up control, I found a deeper guidance. The painting itself became my teacher. Finally, this journey reconnected me to my own resilience, to face your deepest pain day after day and intentionally transform it into something outside of yourself. This is an act of profound strength. This is a way of taking back your own story. The trauma doesn't get to have the final word. You do. You get to decide what you will build from the rubble. This painting is my proof that you can create your masterpiece from your mess, that our biggest struggles can become our greatest source of strength. It's a testament that healing isn't about becoming a perfect, unbroken person, but about learning to find the beauty in your own unique, scarred, and resilient story. Your pain, your struggle, your mess is not a liability. It's a deep well of creative potential waiting for you. So don't be afraid of it. Turn towards it, listen to it, and see what it has to say. If this story resonates with you and if you have ever used your own creativity to get through a difficult time, I would be honored if you share your experience in the comments. Let's build a community around the honesty of the creative struggle. And thank you for being a part of this journey with me, and if you would like to see more, hit the subscribe button, always helps. Take care and see you in the next video.